Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Okay, folks, welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. I'm your host, Jonathan Brickman, and this afternoon for me, and still the morning for you, we have with us Rajesh Fotodar, and he's with the law firm Cognition IP. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Good. Yeah, so you're in San Francisco, so it's still early.
It is. It is.
Good. So you still drinking coffee? What's your morning beverage to keep a latte with a lawyer?
Well, I just stick with Starbucks iced coffee, no cream, 1 to 2 packets of stevia. Nothing very original, but it does the job.
Excellent. You know, it's funny. I always get a kick out of it. You know, when I go to Starbucks or whatever. You know, my default is always coffee's supposed to be hot, and questions asked, would you like it hot or cold? I mean, I never even think about cold. I always think of like coffee should be hot, so it's funny.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, it's funny the answers I get when I ask that question. So
yeah, well, you can get all sorts of coffee answers out here in San Francisco. There's tons of brands, and all people have all sorts of, organic this or this kind of roast, and I don't have the time. I just go with Starbucks.
Well, I'm sure Starbucks still dominates the market.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so good. So listen, I know you're an IP attorney, so tell us about your practice. What do you focus on?
Well, I'm a managing partner at Cognition IP, and we're basically an IP boutique. And the primary focus for us is patent prosecution, the process of interviewing attorneys about their inventions, preparing patent applications, and then filing them at the U.S. Patent Office, and then also internationally. So that's a big part of our work, big part of my docket. I also handle most of the trademark copyright matters that come in. So I would say maybe 35–40% of my work currently is in the trademark copyright space. And then I have, once in a while, I get some web domain disputes that come in and hit my desk. And I do a little bit of entertainment law as well, because entertainment law is adjacent to IP, mostly copyright. So I handle some interesting entertainment matters once in a while as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Entertainment, like music or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've done some work with a literary estate of an author. I'm currently handling a copyright dispute for actually related to a fairly well-known comedian. Some music licensing I've done as well. Some photographers I've worked with, and I haven't done anything legally yet, but I do have a client that it's interesting. They came across some photographs of the early works of a very famous artist, and we're trying to figure out, who it belongs to and what you can and cannot do with it. So some interesting things come around.
Oh, interesting. What would be the issues related to the comedian? I'm interested in that.
The comedian?
Yeah.
Oh, it's copyright infringement. It's lifting some of their recorded material and used in a film.
Oh, I see. Okay. Good.
Yeah. So it's essentially fair use. Did the filmmaker, were they allowed to just use it without any authorization or not? So fair use cases are hard to predict because the standard is very flexible. But that's the issue we're dealing with right now.
Okay. Listen, I've been writing a blog for many years, and I got chased down, believe it or not, by Getty Images for just using an image. I don't monetize it in any way, but it's funny. They chase me now for a couple $100.
Yeah. Well, that's going to happen a lot more because there's a new copyright small claims court. People who had copyright that was infringed, they wouldn't bother getting a lawyer to go to federal court because copyright cases were very complex and they cost a lot of money. But here, it's a pretty streamlined process. Technically, you don't even need a lawyer, and the damages are capped up to $30K. But there's a lot of people with copyright that are going to be able to get their disputes heard. And once you get into small claims court, then you're prejudiced from going into district court, but at least least you get a chance to state your case. Maybe you get some damages, and then everybody moves on. It opened, I think, in June or July of last year, and it's already been very, very active. So I think a lot of people are going to be getting, people who do a lot of things on the internet are going to be getting a lot of interesting notices from people related to the small claims court, I think.
But how are they going to leverage AI for that? I mean, how are you going to keep up with the volume to find people?
Well, what I mean is plaintiffs are who have a specific copyright that they feel have been infringed.
Okay.
They'll yeah. So, I mean, there's a genuine question about whether the small claims court itself is constitutional, but that will certainly be, I think, determined by the Supreme Court in the next 5 years or so.
Okay. And what's your view on this generative AI and Mid-Journey, DALL-E, et cetera, when it comes to copyright infringement?
Well, infringement, I mean, copyright and AI they're on a crash course for sure, because AI is increasingly being used to create all sorts of literary works, all sort of like visual arts.
Yep.
The problem is you have to input other people's works to do that. So, I mean, if you're a human being using someone else's copyrighted material, that's called a derivative work. But because you're using AI, you're not a human, and only humans can be authors. You're kind of circumventing that problem, but you're still, using somebody's copyrighted material to do something with it. So, I mean, different jurisdictions have had different approaches. UK does have some mechanisms to get a copyright if you use AI. A case in India actually awarded a copyright to an author and a copyright program, an artificial intelligence program for generating an image. So, the problem is AI is going to get much more and more creative and more human-like. And so the question is a copyright author someone always going to be a human, or someone who, or something that embodies human-like creativity? And I think, as from what I see, I would say let's stick with human authors. And then if you have technology that has human-like creativity, you can get patents on that. And then the inventor gets the reward for inventing that technology. That's my stance.
Yeah.
I'm not a copyright professor. I'm not, an expert, but from what I've seen, I think that's probably a good approach.
Yeah. Well, this whole generative AI is going to open up a lot of debate and discussion for sure. Right?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway, so what's your bread and butter work that you do? Like, what's your most common case work?
Yeah, like I said, about 60% is patent prosecution, writing patent applications, filing them, handling the examination process with patent examiners, and that just entails making mostly technical arguments about the differences and advantages of your client's invention in comparison to the inventions and the technology that a patent examiner is citing as a basis to refuse your client getting a patent. And then the other 40% is preparing trademark applications. And there's a similar examination process that goes there. Trademark examiners searches for trademarks that would be confusing to consumers if your client also got the same trademark. And then there's various kind of standard legal arguments that you make. I mean, the legal standards are the same, but then the argument is on a case by case. And that's mostly what I spend my time doing. I do a lot of trademark settlement agreements as well. People saying, "Hey, I need you to promise you're not going to use your similar trademark in this field, and I won't use it in your field." And a lot of that happens.
I guess let me ask the question a different way. I mean, you do repeat what you said initially, but what kind of companies are you working with? You're in the Bay Area, so are these startups? Who are you working for?
Yeah, mostly we work with tons of startups. We do have a few anchor clients that would be, I would say household names. So we run the gamut from somebody who's just started a startup and has a foundational tech to, very, very well known. So it's all over the place. And then with trademark, one of the things I like about trademark law is the pool of clients is very different than simply patent clients, because patent clients are always software engineers,
Sure.
they're always techies. But on the trademark side, I get chefs and I get authors, and it's just a different sample of the world out there. And I can just have conversations with them about, like, what did you do today? And the answers are always different than the patent client I just spoke with.
Got it. What do you like more? What's your fantasy? What interests you the most?
Well, I mean, I like both for different reasons. I mean, my expertise is patent law. I've been doing it for 15 years. So there is some comfort in having an expertise, and it's something that I can do that I feel fairly well and fairly quickly. And that's nice to be productive during the day. And the trademark side, the copyright side, it's new. So I don't have that feeling of ease, but I do have the sense of I'm always learning new things. So I rely on the trademark copyright docket to keep me kind of challenged. And then I rely on the patent side. That certainly keeps me challenged, but it allows me to make sure I'm always being efficient with my time.
Got it. Spoken like a true engineer.
I'm not going to take sides yet,
That was funny. Okay. So how'd you get started? So computer science, I see in your background. Then, I mean, obviously that's a path for being a patent attorney. I mean, why did you decide to go to law school? When did you decide that?
Well, I was towards the end of my college. I actually majored in computer science and English, and I enjoyed the computer science work. But from my coursework, I realized that I enjoyed writing. It was a task that I didn't feel was very draining, and I felt like it was because of something I had an affinity to do. And I felt, if I was going to make a choice for a long-term occupation, to try and find work that lined up with something that was more natural. So I thought law would be that. Law school, it's not really about writing. It's really about reading a lot and learning legal reasoning.
Right.
So at the time, it didn't feel like my analysis was very solid. And then even in the early stages of your career, you start doing a lot of writing, but the main task is to gain a level of expertise with your specialization. But later half of my career, I feel now that I have my arm around the field and I know what to do, it's just a matter of execution. Finally, I think the affinity or ease to put words to paper has now finally become an advantage. So I guess I was looking way off into the future when I made that decision and not short term. So I guess it's turned out okay.
Got it. So it was kind of, organic that led you to law, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I started looking into it is when people said, well, you have a CS degree and there's IP, and that's a great career in terms of stability and opportunity and growth. And that was certainly part of the decision-making process. And that certainly come out to be true.
Yeah. There's always a logical path, right? That says, oh, you're this, so you should do that, right?
Yeah. And I mean, and it's important to sometimes put a little bit of logic aside and ask your heart, right? And trying to make a good fit between the two. So,
well, there you go. That was going to be my next comment, that yes, your brain sort of takes you on this path, but at the end of the day, it has to line up with how you feel.
Right. Yeah. The logical will definitely give you the first few steps, but as you get deeper, the people who are better, I find in any field, are coming in with their heart. It's very hard to compete with those people unless you're on that same playing field.
So true. It's passion. It really is. It's just like sports or anything else. When you're really, really passionate about it, you're going to excel. Right? Those things line up. Yeah, it's interesting. As young people, you always get sort of counsel to go down these very logical paths based on whatever your aptitude is, your strength. But it's never really, it's less about kind of what you're really love and interested in, right? Someone wants to go into art and say, well, you get a job as an artist, right? You kind of dissuaded from taking those paths.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of those paths, the first 10 years don't seem very interesting or very fruitful, right? I think professional paths, there's some kind of predictability, and you're going to get a paycheck hopefully in 5-6 years. But a lot of those other career fields, yeah, it's going to possibly be a 10 to 15 year slog, but possibly at 20 years, you may be coming out of that pipeline quite well off, as
Right.
if, those 20 years of struggle didn't really take too much out of you. So, but it's hard to know that, and it's hard to understand that when you're 24 or 25 trying to make a
Yeah.
decision. It's not easy.
Right. Now we're into a philosophy here. So we'll.
I know we're turning into Oprah. It's an Oprah show. Yeah, everyone gets a new car after this.
Oh man, yeah, right. Everyone gets a prize syndrome.
Right.
That's killed a generation of everybody gets a prize, right?
Oh.
But anyway, it's all good. I think whatever profession it is, you end up being a psychologist or a counselor in some form anyway, when you're dealing with other people, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You do, I'm sure.
That's true. I mean, when you get deeper in legal career, it's a lot about claim management and writing in the right tone on email, being careful with what you say, not in the sense that you're trying to hide the ball from a client, because you should never do that, but you start to learn the typical questions that a fairly sophisticated client will have, and then you have a menu of responses, and you want to make sure that you're giving them accurate information, but the information they truly need at the time, because they're extremely busy people, and you don't want to put them off in some kind of panic mode about a very small legal issue that will most likely not come to pass. And so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of psychological counseling that goes on in being someone's attorney.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And often, the real therapy comes, sometimes where they thought, oh, I thought this was included in this fee. Why are we doing this now? And these are all fair questions. That's your job, but you have to be able to manage that with some humor and some respect, and also some degree of effectiveness, so the both of you can move on with the other tasks on your desk.
Right, got it. So with that as a backdrop, I mean, what's a really interesting case that sort of stands out, or memorable one that you worked on?
Yeah, so because I'm strictly transactional, I don't ever really go to court. So when I say like a memorable case, it's not in the sense that most people kind of think about a case where, like, a jury came back with a verdict that was
that's okay.
Right. But I mean, what's memorable is I've worked on all sorts of technology, from like anti-terrorism tech to coffee brewers to online social gaming, and then memorable ones are I've worked on ant farming. It's certainly like,
wow.
Okay, so you talk to somebody who's their career has been ant farming. It's like, oh, okay, well, how did you pick that, right? So that's those kind of really interesting technologies is memorable. And then in terms of memorable experiences, I have had that chance to help draft the foundation patent portfolios for certain companies. One of them for a while was like a top 10 photography app on iTunes. So it's not like winning a case, but it's like the exposure to the technology and learning about the new technology. Essentially, that tends to be memorable.
Yeah, so that's okay. So you're right. That's really probably a better question. You probably see some pretty cool technology. And again, you're like in the heartland for all that really interesting stuff. Anything
I mean,
really cool coming down the line that you've seen?
Well,
That's going to save the planet. Maybe save the planet.
It would be violating, confidentiality. So it's like,
thematic. I should ask you. Any
right.
interesting?
Oh, I mean, we do a lot of AI stuff, and that's can be pretty complex in terms of drafting and then getting through the patent office lately. All sorts of, I mean, things with generating music and things with adding things to the ways people can access a conference call, all sorts of things. So,
Oh, cool. Yeah. I'm sure you see some very neat things. I mean, I know it's much more democratized now, but still, I would say most of the really interesting stuff probably still comes out of Silicon Valley and the Bay Area, right?
Well, a lot. Yeah. There are other places that are, as productive and innovative. I'm not going to get into like
Yeah.
the Bay Area is the best, but
Well,
it's certainly.
You have.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly, the center of tech innovation, but we also have clients in different cities who are as innovative as others.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Needs to be more evenly distributed. But it's funny,
Sure.
even the venture capital kind of is still too concentrated on the West
Yeah,
Coast,
yeah, yep, for sure,
right?
for sure. Yeah, it's good for our business for now. So I mean, I can't complain there, but yeah, I mean, there's other places like Austin, DC has a pretty good tech hub. Austin has a very good tech hub.
Yep.
Denver to some degree as well. So it's as there's more remote work, right? You're going to have people who are more distributed. So that's just going to be a natural consequence of that.
Yeah, for sure. So is the whole firm transactional, or do you do any litigation at all?
It's mostly transactional in terms of filings with the patent office. I mean, if anyone who does the most disputes, that would actually be me. That would be settlement agreements. I do web domain disputes at all. That's not going to court. That's arbitration proceedings, but
Okay.
it's still preparing documents. You don't actually go to a place and have a conversation with another person. But that probably is the closest thing to court that we do. So copyright claims court is also the same. It's going to a court, but you don't go to a actual court. You're just filing documents. So yeah, it's 95% transactional.
Got it. So you've never had any desire to go into a courtroom and do that kind of drama. That was never part of your aspiration.
Well, I mean, not at first, but as what you don't have, you kind of want. I always think about,
Okay. Yeah.
Going into court or doing something just to see what that's like. And I bet the person who only does litigation thinks about what would it be like to have a transactional job, right? So I would like the opportunity to at least experience that, but nothing has come through. And just jumping into, let's say, like a patent infringement case, without other experienced counsel I think would keep me up at night.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that can be something you work towards. I mean, I've talked to other IP attorneys that litigation is part of the practice, but many, you're right, pass it off if
Yeah.
Something that needs to be litigated. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the skills that you need to be successful as the type of law that you practice? What would you tell somebody?
Well, I mean, it's not magic. I mean, my work is a lot of solo work. It's a lot of desk time. It's a lot of quiet reading and writing. It's a lot of drafting the same types of documents, but there's always very different details that you put into each instance. So you have to be pretty detail oriented. So if you have traits that, would benefit from that kind of environment, then with enough experience, you could certainly be productive and valuable. You also kind of just grow those abilities over time. So maybe you don't feel like you have those traits, but over time you are certainly going to grow those. But if that is naturally something that sounds like you'd like, then it'd probably be a good fit. I mean, I think a lot of people think I just do homework all day, which is a fair characterization, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And do you think it's necessary to have a STEM degree to be a patent attorney?
Well, I mean, it is required in order to take the patent bar. I think there's a way that if you can show not necessarily a formal education, but sufficient technical background, but to be a patent attorney specifically and to pass the patent bar, you don't have to have the patent bar to be a patent litigator. You do have to have the patent bar to file patent applications. You don't have to have a law degree actually to file patent applications. You can be a patent agent, which just means you have a tech degree and you pass the patent bar, right? So you definitely helps, right? I mean, so you know what your clients are talking about.
Got it. But I'm just curious to know if you really, like in practice, can those skills be acquired without actually having an engineering degree?
I mean, I would say it's likely because I know a lot of patent attorneys whose background is in the life science, but they are doing software tech.
Yeah.
So they're their technical training is not really helpful in the actual technical material that they work with. So, I mean, that proves the case that someone can eventually acquire the necessary knowledge.
Yeah.
But maybe some, form of technical training, as a floor helps. I don't know. So.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm just curious about like why that has become a requirement or why it started that way. Right.
Oh, maybe someone said we got to monopolize this profession somehow.
Yeah.
So, that's a joke. I mean, you want to, all licensing, the intent of most licensing is to ensure a level of quality that clients can rely on. So I think that was the primary, and also efficiency to make sure that, all patent examiners can be somewhat confident that they're going to be speaking to someone who has a certain level of understanding and fluency with technology, so that the both of you can kind of effectively work on the case together and close it out and come to a conclusion that makes sense.
I know I'm pushing on this because I've talked to enough of you guys, but it's kind of like the analog might be, you go to Ohio State to get a computer science degree, or you go to a Peter Thiel coding, boot camp. I mean, you get the skill set, but you don't have the formal, education.
Yeah. Well, I think some of those boot camps do count. I don't quote me on this. I think the patent office does have some kind of application process where if you list, the basis for your technical understanding and knowledge, that they'll take a look at it and certify it or not. So.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
wonder. I mean, I know everybody's sort of rethinking, higher ed these days, and
yeah. I mean, like with you can just take a lot of courses remotely, and you don't necessarily, have to find that big lecture hall anymore. So that's good and bad in various ways.
Yeah. I mean, the lecture hall thing, I don't think ever really worked. That's really hard for most people to absorb.
Yeah.
Right? Do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I have a son who's 4.5, and I tell my wife, I don't even know if we're going to be dropping him off at a college when he's 18. Maybe there's going to be something completely different. So it's hard to plan. But hopefully when he does graduate from high school, he goes off to do something, but it may not be a traditional college the way we experienced it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's because I go through that myself with my own kids. It's funny, the framework that you think the world should be is very different now.
Oh yeah.
They don't see it the same way. And learning through a YouTube video works better for a lot of these kids instead of sitting there reading a book. So
sure. Yeah. And there's this seems to be a great debate about, is it good to have all this remote work? And it kind of reminds me of the debate, is it okay to have casual Fridays?
Yeah, right.
It's all the people who were very successful in the workforce wearing suits and ties couldn't possibly believe that people could be successful wearing jeans to work. And then all the people who are successful in the more traditional workplace can't possibly believe that someone who just does remote work can have a good career. So, it remains to be seen. I actually work from home all the time, and I love it. So I'm on the remote work side, but it's not necessarily for everybody.
Yeah.
But I really, it's definitely, I like, if I need to take a half hour to do an errand or just to lay down or go outside, I appreciate having that opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think we'll end up sort of in this hybrid model. To have to go into an office every day, you have to commute it's wasted time, but you do want to be around other people for some time to collaborate, right?
Oh, that's how we understand life. So I would say yes, but I think 50 years from now, there's going to be, it's like homeschooling. People thought, well, you have to go to school to be a social kid, and you have to go to school to understand life. And, studies have shown homeschool kids are highly, they're very well adjusted. They're high academic achievers. It's hard to make predictions in that sense. So
yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, I'm always curious to hear what people think about that stuff. I mean, COVID really changed the game in so many ways, accelerated some things and, you know, reversed other things.
Yeah. And accelerated learning loss, unfortunately. So we're going to,
Yeah.
it's going to be, that impact remains to be seen.
Right. That is true. Very true. Well, listen, this has been really fun. Just final thoughts that you want to leave with the audience about your firm and the best way to connect with you if they want to learn more.
Well, you can just do a Google search for Cognition IP, and we'll certainly come up. We do IP. We've got almost all of our attorneys are deeply experienced, so we don't have a lot of people who are just fresh out of law school. That helps us do a lot of high volume of work very well. So if anyone has any questions about patent law, trademarks, copyrights, they can feel free to reach out and contact us. I do enjoy copyright questions. They tend to be, I have at times done pro bono work in copyright, and mainly because artists don't have the they don't necessarily have the money to pay for attorneys.
Right.
And I find the pro bono copyright questions tend to be very, very much more complex than they appear on surface. And then the clients tend to be interesting characters as well. So I enjoy that.
Oh, interesting. Very good. All right, listen, it's been a pleasure for everybody. Rajesh Fotodar and Cognition IP, and this is sponsored by EmotionTrac, and we're a legal tech platform that helps litigators prepare for mediation trials with our insights platform. So thanks again.
Sure.
Enjoy the time.
Same here.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.